We've now covered the top 10 first stage and not fully evolved Pokemon, so it's only natural that we get into the top 10 fully evolved Pokemon. In today's video, we'll be discussing the top 10 Pokemon that have evolved and are at their final stage in evolution. For this list, a Pokemon needs to have evolved at one point, as well as be at its final stage in its evolutionary line. This means that Pokemon such as Kangaskhan that don't evolve, or legendaries like Mew, will be left off of this particular list. With that said, I hope you guys enjoy my list, and let's get this video started. Starting off at number 10, we have a very strong defensive behemoth in Ferrothorn. Similarly to Ferroseed, Ferrothorn is a fairly annoying Pokemon to kill with that plethora of strong utility. If you think of strong hazard setters, Ferrothorn typically is what comes to mind. Whether you're playing in singles or doubles, this Pokemon will always fulfill some sort of strong backbone to any team, regardless of the playstyle. If you need a strong Rillaboom check in VGC, Ferrothorn is able to take advantage of the terrain while taking hits from Rillaboom in return, since most don't run superpower. If you need a good fairy switch in, Ferrothorn is capable of underspeeding every fairy that is fully evolved, which allows for you to just use Gyro Ball against them and decimate fairies. Ferrothorn's even seen as arguably one of the strongest checks to Kyogre defensively speaking, since it's not only a viable hazard setter, but it's also able to take on a single hit from Kyogre without being too passive, as opposed to something like Blissey, which basically needs to teleport out since it won't really damage it sufficiently. Overall, Ferrothorn is a very strong defensive option no matter what format you're playing, securing it at number 10 on this list. Next up at number 9, we have the Generation 4 pseudo-legend, Garchomp. Garchomp's always been a pretty terrifying Pokemon since its conception. Starting off in a generation with permanent weather with the ability Sand Veil to allow it to try to dodge attacks in the sand while ripping teams apart with Dragon and Ground Stabs. And a generation before Fairies, this was far from balanced in any sense. Luckily now, Garchomp's a bit more of a reasonable Pokemon, but still very terrifying. Garchomp has kept on receiving buffs as time has gone on, whether it's Rough Skin in Generation 5 or Z-moves in Generation 7. Generation 8 proves to be no different, giving Garchomp Scale Shot to finally boost its speed. Garchomp is basically the non-legendary equivalent of Landorus Therian for OU, since you can tailor it to run practically any set and make it work. Whether Swords Dance with Scale Shot as a basically dual dance option, offensive with Stealth Rocks, defensive, or anything else. Garchomp can do it and make whatever set you run work at least decently well. Offensively, Garchomp really just needs Earthquake along with some combination of Rock Slide, Fire Fang, or a Dragon move such as Scale Shot or Dragon Claw to destroy teams. Defensively, if you just give this a Rocky Helmet and Rough Skin, all you'll need otherwise are moves such as Stealth Rocks or Toxic, and you can pretty easily beat most physical attackers. Overall, while Garchomp is only number 9, it's a Pokemon that would be pretty hard to see not ever being a terrifying option to use. Our number 8 option is a pretty terrifying Pokemon, but really only in the singles metagame. We have Galarian Darmanitan. Galar Darmanitan has a signature ability called Guerrilla Tactics that basically functions as a choice band, which you can also still stack with the choice band if you feel like it. When introduced to singles, it was an absolute behemoth, with Guerrilla Tactics and even surprisingly Zen Mode Belly Drum variations tearing through teams. While it's a very simple Pokemon to use without a lot of variation in how you'd run it, it's strong enough to make it because you just really need Icicle Crash, Flare Blitz, Earthquake, and U-Turn with a Choice Scarf, and Guerrilla Tactics, which will make you help break through most teams. If you have a fast enough team, this can be substituted with a Choice Band for more offensive power. However, it's pretty easy to revenge this way. As I mentioned earlier though, Belly Drum sets with Zen Mode are terrifying, as unlike regular Darmanitan, the Zen Mode form for Galarian Darmanitan is ridiculous. With 160 attack and 135 speed, the only real flaw this thing has is that you're 4 times weak to rocks, and you need to end the turn at half HP to trigger the transformation. Sadly, you can't just heal this Pokemon up later, since if you do, it'll go back to its non-Zen Mode form, which at that point, you may as well have run Guerrilla Tactics. Even still though, this Pokemon really only ranks solo on the list due to being a fairly garbage Pokemon in VGC due to the fact it's extremely frail and has a horrible typing to want to take a hit from whatsoever, leaving it at number 8 on this list. Number 7 is the Callous Frog Greninja. Greninja and our next option are pretty similarly strong, but because Ash Greninja was taken out of the equation due to not being possible to obtain through evolving a Froakie to Greninja, I decided to rank Greninja at only number 7. Greninja still is a terrifying Pokemon without Ash Greninja in its arsenal, however. Just, it sadly takes out a possible mind game to play when your opponent is trying to play around this is all. Even still, Greninja has access to Protean, which allows for everything on it to be a stab option. This helps significantly when trying to tailor Greninja to patch any holes your team may have, since you can tailor it to handle pretty much any typing you need. If this wasn't enough, Greninja's incredible speed, while having access to Hazard and Taunt, actually also make this a great lead option too, as an enabler to other threats you may have in any given matchup. Greninja, while typically thought of as a special attacker, is easily able to handle typical special walls through moves such as Gunk Shot, Low Kick, or Waterfall. This only adds to why this Pokemon is so terrifying. Basically, Greninja's greatest strength is the fact you'll never know how it'll beat you until it does, which secures it at a number 7 spot on this list. At number 6, we have the Galar Grass starter, Rillaboom. Rillaboom at first was a fairly lackluster Pokemon, until a couple key buffs that helped it stand out from the crowd. The first being the addition of its hidden ability, Grassy Surge, which allows it to set grassy terrain as a boost offensively to its grass stab, as well as gain back HP over time. The second was the Isle of Armor, giving it Grassy Glide, a base 70 grass attack that in grassy terrain has increased priority. This is great for Rillaboom, since it's able to have an obnoxious stab and terrain-boosted priority move off of its incredible base 125 attack. If these weren't enough, if you're playing any sort of non-Smogon format, such as VGC or Battle Spot, you're able to run Gigantamax Rillaboom, which is a 160 base grass attack that ignores abilities when you're in the Gmax form. This helps Rillaboom even better than it was able to do before, if that was even possible, which has allowed it to constantly secure strong placings in every VGC format since its introduction. Overall, while Rillaboom is fairly one-dimensional, as you'll always be running this as a strong breaker, it's a Pokemon you really can't afford to ignore, as it's able to get past any sort of niche strategy your opponent may try to bring, such as using Brick Break on screens, or Grassy Glide to get past any speed control such as Tailwind or Sticky Webs. With all these great qualities in mind, Rillaboom gets the number 6 spot on our list. Starting off the top half, we have one of the Generation 1 starters, Blastoise. Blastoise gained a huge buff in this gen, being Shell Smash, which, if you thought it was terrifying on regular Blastoise, imagine it on Mega Blastoise. Mega Blastoise, while unable to run a white herb to help combat the defense drops, it doesn't really matter, since you'll be able to break most teams with little effort at all due to your wide array of coverage, both physically and specially. With Mega Launcher, moves like Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse, and Flash Cannon receive a 1.5 times boost, which makes Special the more sought after option. But you'll still have options such as Earthquake, which are viable options physically to run due to you having no coverage otherwise for electric types. Blastoise, even outside of this however, still has options such as Rapid Spin or Roar to help it fulfill a more supportive role on a team. Overall, Blastoise is definitely only even on this list because of its Mega Evolution. However, Mega Blastoise is such a monster, we had to include it on the list. Number 4 on this list, we have Cinderace. Similarly to Greninja, Cinderace is a very terrifying Pokemon because everything it runs is a stab option thanks to Libero. While Cinderace is really only a physical attacker, it has enough strong options like High Jump Kick and Sucker Punch, alongside its fire attacks like Pyro Ball and Flare Blitz to get by. Similarly to Rillaboom as well, Cinderace has a Gigantamax form, with an exclusive move that'll hit for 160 base damage when it's Gigantamaxed. If that wasn't enough, Cinderace having options such as Bounce or Acrobatics helps significantly, since in tandem with High Jump Kick, you can boost your attack and speed stats when you're Gigantamaxed or Dynamaxed by using either Max Airstream or Max Knuckle. If you decided you'd rather run regular Dynamax on Cinderace, you'll still have the ability to set Sun for yourself however, which can be scary when paired with threats such as Venusaur, or even for just boosting your own damage output for fire attacks by another 1.5 times boost. Cinderace mostly gains its true strength on this list thanks to Dynamax and Gigantamax, but even without either, it's still an absolutely terrifying Pokemon, which is why it secures number 4 on this list. At number 3, we have another Galar Pokemon being Urshifu. The Galar region decided to introduce a lot of power creep on launch, and then somehow thought it'd be smart to power creep that yet again with a Pokemon that ignores Protect. Urshifu's ability Unseen Fist makes it so any move that makes contact can ignore any Protect option other than Max Guard. Meanwhile, if you're Gigantamaxed, you're able to ignore even Max Guard with your signature Max move, regardless of if you're Rapid Strike or Single Strike styles. Single Strike is Dark Fighting, meanwhile Rapid Strike is Water Fighting, and you can't tell the difference on the team preview between either form due to them having the same exact box sprite. This makes things, such as picking out a lead, very difficult, as both forms have fairly different counterplay, unless you plan to attack with the Fairy or Flying option. Even still, both forms have proven to be nuisances in singles and doubles, since even outside of the fact they get around Protect, their signature moves also guarantee critical hits, unless you have some ability that blocks critical hits. Surging Strikes is a water-type 3-hit move, with each hit being a critical hit at base 25. And Wicked Blow is a base 80 dark move that guarantees crit as well. Regardless of the form, this Pokemon is absolutely terrifying to play around with only having 2 Pokemon truly outshining it. In our penultimate spot, we have our only other pseudo-legendary on this list, Dragapult. Dragapult has the stat line of a Pokemon that just screams overpowered, with sadly a move pool that doesn't entirely support its potential to be as broken. Dragapult has 120 attack, 100 special attack, and 142 speed, with the Ghost Dragon typing. Yet sadly, it lacks a very key move to truly break this Pokemon, being Shadow Claw or Poltergeist. Being a physical ghost, you'd think it would get Shadow Claw, and especially since it's a physical ghost from the Galar region, you'd think it'd have learned Poltergeist. But these basically are the only reasons this Pokemon isn't mind-numbing to play around. Even still, thanks to Dynamax, this Pokemon still has merit physically through Phantom Force, which isn't actually too bad of a move besides the fact it takes 2 turns to attack. Pair this with Dragon Dance and its signature move Dragon Darts, and most things struggle to switch against you, besides strong defensive fairies or normals trying to get the prediction right. If Dragon Dancing isn't your thing, Dragapult still has a very respectable 100 special attack. This allows for choice specs variations, or even Hex, plus either Thunder Wave or Will-O-Wisp to run wild specially. Dragapult's biggest strength is the fact that you never really know what it will do, whereas something such as Urshifu or Cinderace, you at least know will always be a physical attacker, so you can tailor some physically defensive check for it. Dragapult, on the other hand, requires very different checks depending on if it's physical or special, making it our number 2 contender on this list. Our final option here is none other than Gengar. While this may shock people at first, similarly to Blastoise, it's due to how gross its Mega Evolution is. Mega Gengar, having Shadow Tag, helps significantly in stalling out Pokemon as we've mentioned on our previous lists, with how viable Pokemon end up being. But what makes Mega Gengar even more terrifying is how offensively potent it is. With 170 special attack and 130 speed, you just have to wonder how much Game Freak really cares about balancing a Pokemon like this, since you can pick off most Pokemon pretty easily after sacking something, or even now, just using a slow teleport option into Mega Gengar. Mega Gengar's coverage as well helps it significantly if you choose to go offensive, since you'll have Focus Blast for most Ghost Switch-ins. Even against Pokemon such as Mandibuzz or Galarian Moltres, you'll still have alternative coverage such as Thunderbolt and Dazzling Gleam instead to help beat those options. Mega Gengar is also the only Shadow Tag user with Perish Song, which makes this Pokemon only that much more terrifying, as you can not only use it to revenge kill frailer offensive Pokemon, but even to just outclass an opponent's walls as well. All you need is 3 turns, and as long as your opponent can't pivot with either Shed Shell or some moves such as Teleport or U-Turn, you'll win that exchange thanks to being able to outpace and using moves such as Substitute on turns where you can't risk a double protect. Overall, Gengar is truly one of Game Freak's most disgusting Pokemon in general to ever exist thanks to this, let alone for Pokemon that can evolve, which puts it at our number 1 spot on this list. Well, that's going to do it for my top 10 fully evolved Pokemon. What did you guys think of my list? Let me know your guys' ranking in the comments below, and let's get a discussion going. Make sure you subscribe for more of these awesome top 10s, such as one of our upcoming ones, which we'll be doing relatively soon. This involves Pokemon that don't evolve. I think it'll be a real fun one to go over, so you won't want to miss it. So with that said, thank you to everyone for watching the video. Huge thanks to my phenomenal team and the amazing art done each week by Danny the Demon. I couldn't do all this without them. If you all enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Be sure to leave a comment too, as it really helps us out. I also do other content on my Twitch, where I stream Genshin Impact, Mystic Zora, where I do Pokemon Let's Plays and other gaming content, and of course MysticSage, where I do all anime content. Right now, I'm focusing on Inuyasha and Yashahime, so if you're interested in that, be sure to check it out. If you'd like to support me even further than that, check out my Patreon. Whether it's a $1 tip to get early thumbnail access, or the $10 tier to get cool perler bead charms and a shoutout. There's tons of reasons to join today. These lovely people did, and I thank them all so much for their support. It really means the world to me. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mr. Gumbrion, and I will see you all next time with some more amazing Pokemon content.